a workshop with them, brought them to our webinars. They're a friend in the field. Thanks, Mary. And that's the end of our presentation. So I'd love to transition to our panel and bring Amber, Pam, and Sara to the forefront. And then I'm gonna just take a second to pull up my questions for you all. And like Bobby said at the beginning, if there's any questions, please feel free to drop that in the chat. We'll try to get to them at the end of this discussion. All right. So my notes are acting a little funny. I would love to start with Amber. I'd love to know what sparked your interest in running for office, and then was there a specific issue or event that motivated you?
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. So I have lived in my community for over 20 years, and as a mom and a community member, I was involved in many different agencies. And so it was a very natural and organic experience for me to start thinking about running for election. I started to pay more attention to our city council and the decisions that they were making. And I said to myself, I want to be part of those decision-making process. And so I just took a risk and I decided to go for it. And I was really blessed to win my first election. So thank you very much.
That's awesome. Thanks, Amber. I know it's taking that leap of faith and you're just like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Pam, I'm going to kick the same question over to you. So what sparked your interest, and is there a specific issue or event that motivated you? Oh, and Pam, you're muted.
That doesn't happen very often that I'm muted. I started thinking about running a long time ago. The council had been quite a large group. It had been about 14 people at one point, and they wanted to go to a modern form of council, which was 5 people, 4 council people and a mayor. And I thought about the larger group, and then I decided, nah, you can't get anything done with that many people. Mm-hmm. But I really thought that, and it mostly was a male-dominated council, and I really thought you can't leave men unsupervised. You really do need to speak up, and you really do need to tell them that no, they don't have all the answers. There is another side. And by discounting women and what women do, they half of the population of the community was not being addressed. So I said, you know, if not me, who? And if not, why now? You know, so I threw my hat in the ringer. And the first time I said ringer. I should have said ring, but I said ringer. But it kind of was a ringer, because to be a female in that kind of an arena, the questions you are asked are not the typical questions that men are asked. Who's going to take care of your children? Who's going to make the meals for your family? How are you going to fulfill your duties as a wife and mother? And I thought those questions are offensive. So I turned it around and I said, well, who takes care of your children? Because I knew these people had children. Who takes care of your children? Who takes care of the meals at your house? Well, I have a wife. I don't have a wife. So I have to take care of those things myself. So if I'm going to be on the council, it will be on an equal footing with everybody else, and we'll all be working together, and we'll all be doing what benefits our community. They weren't expecting that. That's how I got in. I just decided, you know, jump in, see what flies, and it flew.
Yeah, both of these answers between Amber and Pam, there's a confidence there, and I want to circle back to that after Sarah's answer. But Sarah, I'd love to kick the question over to you. Same questions. What sparked your interest in running for office, and was there an issue or event that motivated you?
Thank you. I became a parent really young, the day before my 21st birthday, and my son was born with significant disabilities. And so when he was little, I had a lot of time to spend getting to know people in intensive care units and hospitals and clinics and therapy programs. And I started to notice that some kids whose disabilities were on paper less significant than my sons were not making as much progress as he was. And I knew that was because of a number of privileges that I had. And that just seemed fundamentally wrong to me, that someone's trajectory in life would be so dependent on the privileges experienced by their parents and then fundamentally by them as well. And so I started to get engaged with advocacy at the local level. And then I was asked to apply for a state advisory committee. From there, I really annoyed my local state representative, Barbara Ross, who surprised me later. I was a very annoying constituent, which I really appreciate more now, how annoying I was. But she urged me to apply for a seat on the Corvallis School Board, which I did, and I was appointed. And then she urged me to run, as did some others. Again, I was asked to run for a state house seat. It was a contested primary. It was a very, very hard fought primary, and I lost. And that was when I learned and decided how you lose is more important than how you win. And so I just kept working. And 2 years later, I found myself in the state house after all, and that was 2004. I've been there since then, except for in 2014, I ran for the Senate. So I've been in the Oregon State Senate for the last 10 years. And I would say that similar to those other questions, when I was running for the legislature the first time, I was 30 years old. I had 4 children under the age of 7, including 2 preschoolers. And I get those questions, including at forums. And at one point I said, my answer was, I just feel so sorry for the men on this panel. Could we just take a moment to think about their children, because nobody is asking about them. And it is just so unfair that those children are not getting the same care and attention. And I think there certainly are things that those of us that are women have had to handle. Questions: can you have a big job and a big family and be both a good legislator or elected official and a good mother and a good spouse? The answer to all of those things is yes. I have declined cash from someone afterwards that after a town hall that came up to me and offered me a $20 bill asking me to buy a pair of pants, saying it was difficult to listen to policy if you could see a woman's legs below her knees when she was wearing a skirt. And I thanked him, but told him I was perfectly capable of putting my own wardrobe together.
Sarah, that's a much more eloquent response than I think I would have had. But I'm also so interested in the journey. You've mentioned a couple times in your answer about being asked at multiple points. And so where do you think you'd be in your career or in politics without those asks?
I probably would be doing something else. And I make an effort because of that to regularly ask people, especially when they are really advocating for something, and including when I don't agree with them or they're a member of a different party, to just say, you know what, you are really smart, you're bringing good perspectives, you might consider running for office sometime. And that's not everyone, but there's some folks that they're working really hard and they're great. I think one of the things that's really important to think about when thinking about asking people is to not assume or decide for that other person. I'm grateful that nobody decided for me that it was a bad time to apply for that open school board seat. And I could see why people might. I had a newborn baby and I had a son that had just had a spinal cord surgery. And I interviewed for the position while breastfeeding my baby and had my other kids around me on the same day I drove home from the hospital. But I wanted to do it. And I had that in my mind. Recently, we have a woman running for the state house here, someone that I've wanted to see run for a decade. Her name is also Sara Finger McDonald. But I went to meet with her to urge her to run and found out that she was in the middle of chemotherapy treatments. She was finishing them. And I felt really guilty to ask. But when I asked her, she had that confidence that we've heard from the others. And she said, today I'm tired, but I know I can win. And I know I've wanted to do this. And I know I'm going to be fine. And I know that being tired is temporary. I'm going to think about it. And she's running and she's doing fantastic and she's fully recovered. And I'm hopeful that she's going to win. But I had to, even after all of that learning, push myself that it was up to her to say no. It was not up to me to decide whether it was the right time to ask her.
I love that. I love that so much. It's like trusting the women in your life to say, yes, I can do this, or no, right now is not the time. And also on the flip side of being respectful, if a woman is like, I really don't want to do that. That is not my path forward. And you know, I appreciate the ask, but I'm just not ready for it. And just being able to respect that decision as well. I would love to kick a question back to Pam and just say, just speaking to your confidence, I know that a lot of the times this is even something that I struggle with. What would you say to a woman who doesn't feel confident enough to run for office or just even explore that possibility?
Never let them see you sweat. Never, never. Your confidence precedes you. I am about 6 feet tall, so there aren't many things that really intimidate me. Spiders intimidate me. But I have a lot of confidence, and I have 2 daughters, and I have instilled that confidence in them also ad nauseum, because sometimes they are more daredevilish than I am. But you can't let them see you sweat. You cannot see them, let anyone see you back down, especially men. You can't let them see you back down. You must stand for what you believe in. You must be who you really are, and you have to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that for some, there's a period of self-exploration of asking yourself, like, what are my skills? Like, what do I value? Why is this work important to me? And I think just allowing us all the flexibility and grace to say, like, I can take that time for myself. And even if I decide not to run for office, these are, you know, transferable skills and knowledge that you can take to whatever you decide next, whether it's a leadership position in your community or sitting on a school board. There's a lot of opportunities to utilize this information. Amber, I want to ask you the same question in regards to confidence and running for office. Like, where does that come from for you?
So I really have been asked to do so many things, and sometimes I hesitate and say, can I do this? But I've learned to try and see myself how other people see me. So I'm in my first term and I was nominated vice mayor, and I was a little bit surprised by that. But I think that I had built trusting relationships with other people and I had earned their respect. And if other people see in me the qualities that I need to serve at whatever position they're offering me, then I have learned to just say yes, whether I feel like I'm ready or not. If other people feel that I'm ready, I've learned to just say yes. So I have rarely said no the last 4 or 5 years to really almost anything, unless I just had, like something really other important. I've learned to just say yes, because being given opportunities is such a wonderful thing to learn and grow.
Yeah.
And also one of my passions is making connections. And so when you're in any level of leadership, you have this wonderful ability to connect people, to connect organizations that can literally make a huge difference even in one person's life. And so that's probably been one of the things I enjoy the most when you're in that leadership position, is to connect people in a way that really benefits even one person or one child.
Yeah. You know, I think we think about community change as it has to change this large group of people. However, I think that if you can change one person's life and you can build on that momentum, you can continue, you can make that big change. But, and it all takes is just one step or one person or one conversation that you can have today to make a difference. I want to jump to, you know, Amber, Pam, and Sarah, you guys are all sitting in elected office right now. And a lot of the times when I'm having conversations with other women in the field, there's not a really big support for women who are currently serving in office in terms of self-care and sustainability. So how would you tell, what would you tell this audience in terms of supporting women who do serve in office today so that we can continue motivating women to see the possibility of themselves even running? And I'll leave that, if anyone wants to jump in first, I'll leave that open to the group.
I think Bobby mentioned this at the beginning, is learning to support women candidates. I'll just be honest, and I have been a little disappointed at how critical women are of other women. And so I would really encourage us to please support each other. And that doesn't mean you have to agree with everything or even vote for that person. But if we could just have some respect for our fellow women who are putting themselves out there and being in a leadership role. Again, I'm not asking you to agree with me, but to respect me. And it's been difficult to see women be so critical of women leaders.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out, Amber. I know sometimes it's women who are working against our own motivations, and it's unfortunate to see. And so I'd love to hear Pam or Sarah how we can continue supporting women who are in office.
Go ahead, Sarah.
So I'm in an unusual place here in Oregon. When I started in the legislature, women were in the minority. We have tiny little offices in the House, and all of the women in the House and the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, could fit into this tiny little interior office. Today, women comprise the majority of the Oregon House. Our governor is a woman. Our Speaker of the House is a woman. Our Attorney General is a woman. We're almost at half in the Senate. And fortunately, in that time too, we've really expanded in terms of LGBTQIA and BIPOC communities as well. So it's become a much more diverse legislature. That did not happen by accident. It was a lot of work of people reaching out. And I think one of the challenges that we've wrestled with here is in terms of expanding that diversity, looking at women and BIPOC communities, that sometimes what we need is a voice from a community that does not currently exist at all in the legislature. So as allies, really looking at allies for a diversity in the legislature, looking at how to make that happen. I think the challenges that we continue to have here and that I think are still specifically unique to women, the pay is very low, which means that it's very difficult for women to afford to serve in the legislature. We are consistently losing many of our really great young women. And to be fair, many of our great young men and many of our first generation immigrant legislators, just because there isn't a way to move that forward. In terms of practical help, we do still have a lot of division of labor issues in the private world. So if you were to ask most of your female legislators here during a legislative session, they'll tell you they're hungry, and their families might be a little grouchy too because they're not eating as well as they're used to. And I remember the first time I ran for re-election, my daughter at the time was like 5, and she started to cry and said, "But I'll be so hungry. I don't like it when Dad cooks. What will I eat?" So, those little things are helpful, take a kid out to lunch or something.
Yeah, I wonder on that more like literal sense. It, like, if someone comes up to you and asks you as like an elected official, what could I do to help you? What would your response be, Sarah? Or like,
It would depend on who was asking me. If it was a
Sure.
friend, I would ask them to listen. Or actually, somebody asked me today, I asked them if they could just randomly send me some cute pictures of animals. Those just arrive at a particular time of day. But I would say what I say to others that ask is, tell me what you need and be very clear about what you're asking, especially for allies. It's really difficult when someone comes, and I'd be interested in hearing what the other two say, with a major societal issue and they want you to do something about it, but there isn't clarity in that ask. And as electeds, we don't have the ability to snap our fingers and make a fix. And there also is so much that's out there. And the longer I've been in, the more things I'm responsible for. So this past year, I've just created this circle on my whiteboard for my staff and I to prioritize. And it's these concentric circles. The things in the middle are the things that I have influence over, that I actually control. The ones that are in the middle circle are things I have an impact over. I don't have direct control, but I can influence them. Sorry, the middle is control. And the big circle is everything in the world that I can or should care about, but I can't get to, and those things get delegated. So for those that are coming to me, I ask them, can you please narrow to the closer to the center of the target so I can feel successful in responding to you and you can feel successful in your ask would be very helpful.
Yeah. And I mean, as women, like something we lack is time. We are busy. You know, Pam has like a list of 8 different things that she's on. And I think that that's such a legitimate ask, Sarah, is do your research and try to come informed in those conversations so that you're benefiting not only yourself, but the person you're speaking with who can get an answer to you more quickly. Yeah, Pam, go for it.
Okay. I have to say that I have not continuously been on the city council for 12 years. Right now, I'm currently off and I'm running for re-election. But what has happened in my first 4 years, I got to the end and I ran for re-election. Well, you know, somebody didn't like something that I did. And so they badmouthed me all over the place. And, you know, then I didn't get reelected and I felt really bad about that. But did I feel bad about what I did? No, I didn't. I felt bad about the response. Why would they take that out on me when there are 5 people on that council, but they targeted me? So then I ran again and they must have forgotten why they didn't like me there before, because they voted for me and I was back on. But then, you know, I go down and I get close to my end of my 4 years and there it hits again. I do something that they don't think is right. And so then I'm not voted in again. But then, you know, I wait 2 years till you know, the dust settles and people forget what's going on and I run again. Okay, so that's my 12-year history. Would I change any of that? Absolutely not. The things I stood for, I still stand for. And I would not change that. I would like, however, to change people's perception, but that takes a lot longer. So what that means is now that I'm running again to get back on the council, I have to be working on that to make the perception that we're all in this together, and don't discount my positions just because you don't like them.
Yeah. Thanks, Pam. I think that's a lesson in resiliency, which is a big word around She Should Run this year of like, if you lose, it's not that you have lost forever. It's just like there is this one time that you have an opportunity to learn from and try again, or you can apply and give advice to someone else who you might be building the bench for. So we're sort of close to the end of our time. I want to get to Bobby's question and maybe someone else's question, but I do have one more question at the end. And Bobby's question is wondering if any of the panelists have been able to improve the childcare available in their communities once they got elected.
I would say no. We have tried. We are continuing to try. We've just made substantial new investments with the challenge. I think we were starting to make progress, then we had the pandemic, but workforce challenges, land use challenges have been an issue. I work specifically in the area of disability, and it's been very, very difficult to really address the issue of infant and toddler exclusion on the basis of disability. And there really is a lot of bias that is wrapped up in that. It's the same with exclusion from school. And those are really difficult things to talk about. We're not used to talking about disability in the context of discrimination. And because I am a politician, I'm going to add on to this question on the how to help. I can't believe we all forgot the most important one. To win, women need money. And so it's really important to write checks to female candidates. It's challenging to raise the money. Women's networks often aren't as large as men's networks in terms of moneyed networks. And so writing as many checks as you can for as much as you can and encouraging people that they can ask. I'm telling myself this right now, so I'm listening to myself. Ask for the big check. The worst they can do is say no, and you'll probably get more than you expected when you started, and you can't win. They're not doing you a favor. They are providing you assistance so you can do the good hard work of running and serving.
I was at the district, I'm in District 7, and areas 1 and 3 had their district meeting a week or so ago. And I'm talking about money because city council, I don't get any money from anybody unless they write me a check. You know how that goes. And so I was saying that, money is a big deal. So I get back to my desk and here's a $5 bill from somebody, and it says from an anonymous donor. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And then here was another $1 bill. I had $6 for my campaign. I was elated. It's like, who'd have thunk? Who'd have thunk that at that meeting I would get $6?
$6 more than zero is a big win.
Exactly. And it's going into signs.
Yes. Amber, anything you wanted to tack on about your work with childcare, or just, in relation to building sustainability in your life?
I echo what Sara said. We live in a young community. The average age of a person who lives in Maricopa is 36 years old. And so we have a lot of young families that are moving here. And this issue just came up this last week, exactly what Sara was talking about. And unfortunately, we've been having a difficult time moving the needle in that area as well.
Yep. Just the uphill battle, just reemphasizing the journey that we're on. Anyone else have any questions? Otherwise, I have one that we can close out on, but I want to leave the conversation open.
There was one question from Ela, which has a international flavor. Did you want to ask that, Ela?
Sure. So I wanted to know, while we were talking, I was doing some research about percentages of elected women all over the globe. And I found that in Rwanda, it is 61%. In Cuba, 55%. Can any of the four of you throw some insight into how come those women are succeeding and we are not in America?
Wow.
Yeah, Nicaragua 51%, Mexico 50%, United Arab Emirates 50%. So what are women in America? What are we lacking?
Money.
I would say money is part of it, but I also am this is an unscientific hunch and guess. I mean, that other question was about childcare. If you look at access in our country to childcare, healthcare, housing, elder care, it is very, very difficult for women in a nation that is everybody's in it for themselves, which means everyone's mother, daughter, and grandmother are going to be responsible ultimately for making sure everything happens. It's hard to have much left over. So it's that infrastructure. If you don't have someone to take care of your aging parent, if you don't have someone to take care of your school age, that you just don't have the freedom to go and take that time away from your family and community. So I think it highlights some of the policy failures that we have in the United States where we haven't caught up with others, as it leads to everything from paid family leave to childcare, healthcare, housing, etc.
Yep, I think that's spot on. Anyone else? Amber or Pam wanted to jump in for an answer? If not, that's all right. Well, in the last 5 minutes, I want to just pop this one question over to our panelists, starting with Amber. And what would you say to a woman on this call, who might be interested in exploring the possibility of running for office? What is one step that you would recommend they take today?
I would say absolutely go for it. There is no way you will lose running for office. The relationships that you build, the people that you meet, the conversations that you have, you'll never be the same ever again. It is the most amazing process. It pushes you to limits that you never knew that you could beat. And so I would absolutely tell you, go for it. Sign the paper with your hand shaking. It's the unknown, and it's just a journey that you just don't know what is before you. And so I encourage you to have the courage, the bravery, the strength, make relationships, and you just can't lose. There's no way that you can lose. The fact that you get to be a part of something bigger than yourself is just an immeasurable gift. And so thank you for this opportunity of being here today, and encourage all of us to continue to challenge ourselves to do more.
Thanks so much, Amber. I love that answer. You can't lose running for office. There's always something to gain.
Right.
Pam, what would you tell a woman on this call?
Go for it. Just go for it. You know, do not turn around. Don't look behind you, look forward. If you have a passion, I have been in community service. I've been in public service all my life. All my life. I have worked on causes. I have been involved in things. I have always done things. And I really ask those people around me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this other thing? And they would tell me. And I when you do that, when you get buy-in from other people, it strengthens you and it pushes you forward. And you just have to keep going. So do it.
Yeah. From what I hear from that is like being a part of the conversation, asking a lot of questions, getting curious, getting informed, feeling confident in that decision. And Sara, last but not least, bring us home. Oh, and Sara, you're muted.
As the others have said, when in doubt, take the leap. And in doing that, remind yourself it's not wrong to know that you have something to offer. You don't have to be embarrassed about being confident and knowing that you have ideas and skills that will be a benefit to others. And when you stand up and do that, you are going to be inspiring other people to come behind you and do it. Every time you do that, someone is going to do it. And at the end of the day, you might win, you might lose, but regardless of what happens, the sun will come up, the sun will go down, and the next day you'll get back up and try again at whatever it is that you know you can contribute to your community that day, because you have something to contribute.
100%, Sara. Oh,
this has been a wonderful opportunity. Thank you all for inviting me. And when Penny told me this, I said, you got to be nuts. I don't belong in this deal. You got to be nuts. But I have learned so much. I have learned so much from the other panelists, and I'm ready to go forward. Our election is June 11th. I'm ready.
She's ready.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. Yeah, I say ask yourself, ask a friend, get involved. You know, take the advice from Sara, Amber, and Pam. We believe in you. So there's 4 people that believe in you, and I'm sure the other 31 on this call also believe in you. There are women here to support you. And with that, I will pass it back over to Bobby. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you so much. I think this has been just phenomenal. I really appreciate both your expertise, Amanda, and everybody's stories of how they got into office and how we can help them stay there and get other folks in. So thank you all for coming. I'm going to share my screen one more time because let's see if I can do this. Once again, I'm having trouble with getting this to move down. There we go. I just wanted to thank our leadership committee members for putting this presentation together today. I think you've done a marvelous job in getting us some phenomenal speakers. And thank you, Renelle, Penny, and Terry, for all your work. And this is what your caucus can do for you. And hopefully it will continue to do this, and we'll have some more Zonta leaders next year that we can be hearing from. So thank you all so much for your participation. Anybody else has anything to say? Feel free to share it.
Just thank you. Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Good to see you all.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Wonderful. Oh, I'm muted.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.
And thank you, Shannon, for your support.
Oh, thank you. That was wonderful.
We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, I think it was very well done. So kudos to you.
Oh, that's great.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this, but I will talk to you later.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.